Okay, so one of the big things where you came into my life is I saw you on the screen for a couple different, reasons. One of them really started with the Brandy Melville scandal, and it was a documentary, whatever it was.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
documentary.
And so tell us about that, because I don't know that as many people as, I've brought it up to a couple of people. Some people, of course, know Brandy Melville, do not know about the scandal and haven't yet seen it on TV, which they should. It's fascinating. I mean, we all grew up kind of knowing about it, wanting to fit in their clothes. My daughter still to this day talks about it. So can you fill our listeners in on what this store is or what this company is and how this scandal came about?
Yeah, so Brandy Melville is this teen retailer where they're selling clothes to essentially teenage girls, kind of going into your 20s, maybe your 30s, but their real market focus is teens. And their selling point is that they do one size fits all. So they only sell things in one size. And for some things, it's kind of oversized tops. For some things, it's just a pair of jeans, which only selling those in one size, only a pretty specific group of people is going to be able to wear them.
Mm-hmm.
I was interested in Brandy Melville back in 2021, where I was really interested because they'd grown so much and I was curious who their CEO was. Just to be like, like it's interesting this only has one size. It's interesting it's so popular. Whose idea was this? So I started trying to Google the CEO and I just couldn't find the name anywhere, which when you're a reporter, CEOs love to talk about themselves. They love to talk about their business. It's so rare to have a CEO who is not trying to get their name out there. So I started looking through court documents to just figure out who was running this thing. And that was when I found these lawsuits accusing Brandy Melville of racial discrimination. And from there, I started talking to more and more people. And what came together was this company was a place where, in addition to only selling one size, their employees were expected to be young, thin, ideally blonde, and white. And I heard from Black and Latina employees who said, I just couldn't get hired, or I was forced to work in the stockroom while these very thin white employees were given better paying jobs where they were on the floor and in some cases kind of even elevated to models and to being able to get these perks. But the flip side of getting these perks was spending more time with this small circle of male executives where people discussed feeling like they were exploited. I talked with one young woman who said she was sexually abused by one of the male kind of people in this inner circle. And I heard from several people that they felt they had to undress to be fully nude in front of these male executives. And that was kind of part and parcel with having these extra perks and being able to be promoted. So it was a really shocking investigation where just even the most basic things that people were hired and fired based on being thin and white were, to me, shocking. They had to send photos of themselves every single day to these male executives. So I was really shocked by all of this, and there were so many bizarre details.
So was there not one CEO? Was it a group of executives that had bought the company?
There was one CEO, Stephan Marsan, but he kind of worked in close collaboration with this group of mostly Italian male executives who were also involved in making decisions. But Stephan was kind of the CEO of a series of shell companies that ran Brandy Melville.
Wow. Okay. So, and explain how you kind of got access, how you started penetrating this enough that you were able to pitch this as, something that you could put on paper that then somebody bought into it and said, we got to put this on TV.
Yes. So my original reporting, I had access to these lawsuits and all of these materials related to the lawsuits, which was incredibly helpful. I think that for
And
people
that's just public.
yeah,
It's out there in
it's
the public,
public
right?
record, which I think that when you're a journalist, a lot of readers understandably kind of are like, oh, why should I trust you? Why should I trust these anonymous sources? But when you have actual materials that are publicly available in a lawsuit, it really removes a lot of that doubt. But in addition to that, just to kind of understand and conceptualize this, I talked to more than 30 current and former employees who said basically, what is in these documents? It's all true. And in fact, there were even worse things happening as well. So I published all of that. And from there, there was interest in a documentary, and the documentary that ended up being made by a very talented director who has like won an Oscar before. She took this inspiration from Brandy Melville and was able to turn it into a wider reflection on fast fashion, and not only how there's exploitation at Brandy Melville, but what does this look like in the wider fashion industry, and
Yeah.
how much waste there is, and how it impacts women, not just in the US working for Brandy, but around the world.
After covering the scandal, do you believe that consumer awareness and social media backlash have effectively pressured Brandy Melville to change? Like, what's gone on in the company since?
That's something that I'm still trying to figure out, because I had such a great response from people who had worked at Brandy Melville who said, "Thank you for getting the truth out. Like, this means a lot to me that this is out in the world." But
Yeah.
on the flip side, they still seem to be doing a booming business. Like, it does not seem to have impacted their sales as far as I can see. So it's a little bit of a difficult question, because I want to believe that people, when they find out a company is exploiting teenage girls, people would stop shopping there. But I
Yeah.
haven't seen that actually happen. And I don't know if it's a lack of people knowing about this, or
Yeah. I
people
mean, I would think it's a lack of
emphasizing it.
awareness. I don't know that
Yeah,
those teenagers are the ones reading your article. I don't know that
right.
those teenagers are the ones that are seeing that documentary. Did that come out on
It's
Netflix? No, I
on
can't.
HBO
Yeah,
Max.
HBO, that's right. So I don't know that it's seeped its way in, and sometimes that does take years, you know what I mean? And then it comes around. Were you able to access any of those male executives and talk to them?
No, I was obviously in reporting. I reached out to everyone, tried to talk to everyone,
Mhm.
but I talked to some people who had left and who were male executives who were now kind of had turned against the company, but
Yeah.
no current executives were willing to speak with me.
Um, I mean, there's a growing trend of people that are whistleblowers or people that want to come out and speak in every industry. I mean, from fast food to tech to retail, whatever the scandal might be. Did you find that it was really hard to get people to want to talk because they were nervous of the backlash, especially in something like this where nothing seems to be affected in the company? So why talk? You know, you can't, if they can't bring them
Yes.
down, you can't elevate your position. What's the reasoning that they're going to do it?
It was incredibly difficult to get people to talk. And there's so much fear that is still built into people,
Yeah.
where they were really scared about what would happen to them. And for a lot of them, they still are friends with people who have worked there or continue to work there. It's a real community mindset. So I think that for people, that was a little bit of a double-edged sword. Some people were afraid of speaking up if it would hurt people who were still working there. But I think that for a lot of people who spoke with me, while they hoped that there would be bigger changes and it would impact the company's bottom line, it also felt like they were able to speak to kind of tell other women, this wasn't just you. Like, I
Mhm.
experienced this as well. And that was a way to create change and create community and kind of make something of this traumatic experience for them.
Yeah. I don't follow the company that well. Do they still have brick and mortar stores or has it moved to just online?
They still have brick and mortar stores, and they're expanding into restaurants now. I haven't reported too much on this, but they've been doing more in the restaurant space, and they're continuing international expansion.
Interesting. You mean to put a restaurant like in addition where the retail space is
They
or
kind of are opening these little cafes that are not called Brandy Melville, but they've
oh,
started opening restaurants under different names that are next to or around. I need to return to my reporting on this. If
yeah.
anyone
I'm
watches this, has
curious if these girls
any
are all these.
inside scoop, reach out to me, because I'm very curious about what the business plan is with this. It's
Right.
very interesting.
And it'll be interesting to see if it's all these skinny white
Exactly.
young women being the hosts.
Yes.